you know as soon as it pops up.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, everyone, we are live in the Monarch Natural Health Facebook group, and I just wanted to welcome you all tonight to the meeting. Thanks for showing up. I have a special guest here. Her name is Annie Watts. And Annie, do you want to share your slide or do you want me to share the one I have?
I can share it if that's easy.
Yeah.
We'll go back. There we go.
This is Annie. She is a functional wellness coach and licensed massage therapist. After a 16-year struggle with Lyme disease, she finally found wellness again, which led her to this work. Whenever she can, Annie loves to educate people about Lyme prevention, as well as some other helpful tips navigating this ever-growing health concern. Annie and her husband live in Kennebunk, Maine, have 4 grown children, a dog, Maisie, 2 cats, and 15 chickens. I love it. I used to have my own chickens.
So you understand what that's all about.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, welcome everybody.
Yes.
Do you want me to just take it from here?
Yep. It's all you, girl.
Okay. So I used to give Lyme Awareness Day talks back in Connecticut, where I grew up all the time. And I moved to Maine 8 years ago. And I haven't been doing them the last few years, though I love to do them. I think COVID got everybody off the showing up and coming to meeting kind of thing. But this is a passion of mine because it is under reported. It is underserved as far as people getting out there and being preventative. And yeah, I think the best thing is to prevent it from happening to begin with. Yes. If you can keep Lyme disease from getting into your body and all its lovely co-infections, you're going to be good. We'll also touch on if you have been bitten and all that stuff. But I like to just really educate people because it's so simple. It's just that we need to be a little vigilant. So I will just go through these slides. And that's my dog, Maisie. And I'm at the beach there in Kennebunk, not the woods. But yeah, I don't go in the woods in the spring, but I'll talk about that.
Can I ask what kind of dog you have?
She's a pot cake, and that's the indigenous dogs.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Turks and Caicos. It's the indigenous, like the island dogs that live there, the indigenous dogs that are like laying in the middle of the road in the Bahamas and the islands.
Okay.
But she's very healthy, as you can see.
It's beautiful. Yes.
So I adopted her when she was like 5 pounds, just 12 weeks old. So yeah. So this is just a little bit like, how much do you know? Some of these stats might be a little off because I did this a few years ago, but they're definitely right there within range. So you can nod your head or unmute yourself or whatever, but what % of deer chicks are thought to be infected with Lyme disease? And if you want, you could put it in the chat. What do you think,
50.
50. Well, yeah. So, you look at the CDC, they all report different things. They say anywhere between 2% and over 50%. And right here in lovely Southern Maine, they drag cheesecloth through the woods when they go hiking. And over 65% of the ticks 3 years ago were found to have Lyme infected.
Wow.
So it depends where you are, how warm the weather had been, right? And it all has to do with those little white-footed mice that spread the larvae. They're the real cause of spreading it to the deer. But yeah, so it all just depends where you are. But yeah, well over 50%. So that's a pretty big, right? Pretty big number.
Yeah.
A bullseye rash is always present with Lyme disease. True or false?
False.
Yay, this is a smart.
My son had Lyme's twice. First time, no bullseye. Second time, bullseye.
Right, and I never had a bullseye.
I had a bullseye.
Yeah, it's 20% have the bullseye, and that used to be the telltale sign. Like a doctor wouldn't even say you had Lyme unless you had that bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
Ticks will stay off my dog or cat as long as they have been treated with frontline or have a tick collar.
False.
False.
Right. They don't stay off. They just don't attach. So guess what they can do? Fall off in your house.
I've had that happen just recently.
Yeah. I only have to worry about deer ticks in the warmer months.
I think that's false.
Yeah. So I've been out in Maine in February and it's been 38 degrees and I've gotten, my dog's gotten a tick.
Wow.
Anytime it's over freezing, you can get, that can happen. Quiz continued. The Western blot and the ELISA blood tests are accurate forms of detecting Lyme disease. That's the basic test that you get when you go to your doctor.
I think that's false.
Yeah, they are inaccurate. So you need a clinical diagnosis, which is based on symptoms. Do you go hiking in the woods? It's a whole thing, plus many vials of blood. And also now they have tick panels that are much more comprehensive. And the reason for that being one of those being so not accurate is they did a vaccine a long time ago for Lyme disease. And one of the most high recurring bacterias that show up with Lyme disease, they put that in the vaccine. And the vaccine was a super big fail. But anyone who's gotten that vaccine now would not show. Does that make sense? They had to take it out of the test. So
Wow.
the most highly occurring bacteria, I know there's a lot of.
Right, because multiple strains of Lyme's. My son got it twice, and it was two different infections. I thought it was like a recurrence, a sequelae, and no, it was two separate infections.
Yeah,
I was
too.
bored.
My son, also got two separate infections, missed 2 years of school, a lot of stuff. The Lyme bacteria, Burgdorferi, we should call it, because Lyme now, sort of Lyme encompasses the spirochete and all the co-infections sort of go under that thing of Lyme. But Burgdorferi was the doctor who discovered Lyme, if you will. And so that is the spirochete bacteria, and they call it Lyme because of Lyme, Connecticut, where it was first, became so famous. But can that cross through your placenta to your baby?
Oh, I hope this is not true, but I bet it is.
Yeah, true.
Oh.
So we don't even want to talk about all the years that people donate blood.
Right.
And there's blood infusions, and we don't even know. Yeah, so let's not even go there. A regular internist or pediatrician is sufficient for detecting Lyme disease.
False.
False.
Right.
Infectious disease doc.
You need or a Lyme literate MD is another person. So the Lyme literate MDs, there's a very upper crust of society, if you will, in the medical world for the Lyme literate doctors, and they are spread all over the country, New York, California, and they all are very much connected. And anyone who has LLMD after their name, it's a Lyme literate medical doctor. You can definitely trust those, and you can Google that in your state. So what percentage of the people infected with Lyme go untreated, do you think?
I think it's high. I'm going to say 60.
Yeah. When I did this in 2017, it was thought to be as high as 69%.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, this says Maine, sorry, because this is when I was doing it at the Maine library, but this could be anywhere. So the black-legged tick, right, is in the Northeast mostly. It can also be found in other parts of the country, but now they never thought that even a dog tick could carry Lyme, but now they have found the Lyme bacteria in dog ticks. So obviously, if anyone knows anything, there's not one state in the nation, and even other countries that have not, there's countries that haven't had Lyme disease, but it's already gone international years and years ago. But every single state in our nation has reported it, some more heavy than others. So this is the list of co-infections. I can't even pronounce that last one. That's a new one since I've been.
Yeah, I was going to say I haven't recognized that one.
Yeah. So a man in Maine just died of that Powassan disease last week from a tick bite. I know. So I unfortunately had the lotto. I had everything except for the Powassan in the last one. I had Bartonella, Babesia. So anaplasmosis is also known as uricula, and Babesia, we called it Babesia. And then the Burgdorferi had everything. So I don't know if you know this, but I'll get to that when we get there. So Lyme is in every state. There's maps that show concentrations here and there. Obviously the Northeast going right. Can you see my cursor? Or no?
Yes.
Okay. So like right here, going down here to the right is very heavy. And then again, off to the left with this little middle area being less so, but it is in every single state and growing. So does anyone not know what Lyme disease is? Everyone knows? Shake your head, yeah. Has anyone here had it other than Brenda and myself and Anne-Marie's son? Okay. Well, it's a bacteria infection, and it drops off of deers. That's why they call it deer ticks, but and it feeds on an infected host, the deer, but it does come and get spread from that little white mouse, which we'll talk about later. But it has a corkscrew shape, just like syphilis. And we're not going to get into that whole conspiracy theory of was it man-made? Is it off an island in New York? Whatever. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's freaking here. That's all we have to know, right?
That's right.
Dr. Bergdorfer, he named it. So that's the name of the spirochete. And it invades your soft tissue, your joint spaces. It can go into your brain, which it did with me. I think it's still there. You know, and I definitely had bad chest pain. It was, bad that way. But it's in your bloodstream, and it's only there for a little bit, and then it moves out. And goes into your tissues and your organs. So testing is important. I'll just say that. Getting tests as soon as you can. So they say you can look on the website. Some people, the CDC will say 30,000 cases are reported. They think well over 300,000 cases annually, new cases annually, not just cases because they go on. I think it's much higher than that. So do other people. Mm-hmm. So 95% of the cases that are confirmed in the US usually happen in these 14 states that you're looking at right here. Where I live now, Maine. So Connecticut used to be really horrible. Like New Hampshire right now and Vermont are really bad. That's my husband, and my dog's going to bark, and we're just going to go with it.
We don't hear him.
You will.
Annie, can I tell you something quick?
Yeah.
Where I used to live out in the country, the ticks were so bad that one time my dog took off chasing an animal. I don't know if it was a deer or something. When she came back, it looked like her skin, her fur was crawling. That's how many ticks were on her. We could just wipe them off. That's how bad
Pennsylvania, probably 5 or 6 years ago, was one of the worst states in the whole country. I know that. It's going to happen. She'll bark and we'll just get over it. The moose and the moose population in Maine are dying. It's so sad, you guys. I'd say Google it, but it'll make you cry. So the baby moose, they have their babies. They get covered in ticks, covered. They're attached. And so deer are fine. They're resilient, right? It takes them down. They find these babies dead. It's just so sad. And so the population is decreasing every year. It just breaks my heart right there. So this is 2001. You see the map speckled there?
Yeah.
It's now everywhere, right? It's now in every single, yeah, I know. And this is just 2015. It's really crazy. And I think the warming climate, so it doesn't matter why we're getting a warmer climate, right? Wherever you stand on that, the fact is it's warming up and changing over time. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm just giving my presentation. Nice, lovely husband. So celebrities, why I talk about this is because with celebrities contracting Lyme disease, it gives us so much more attention, right? It gives the disease some attention. Tommy Hilfiger's daughter was committed to an insane asylum, and she was so out of her mind. And he finally just threw her like into a rehab place, and then they finally figured out she had Lyme disease. So he talked a lot about it. This woman right here, Angeli, she was a skier. We all know Ashley Olsen. There's Tommy Hilfiger's daughter. Bite me. It's a whole thing she's done. And then here's a whole list to the right. You obviously can recognize all those names. Mm-hmm. So every time someone like that gets it, it's sad. It's sad that any of us do, but it brings more awareness to the disease and they speak out about it. I would like some of the people that deny the severity of this disease to get it. And then we will probably see some change. Yeah. Some lawmakers, not that I wish it on anybody, but it might help. So symptoms, they vary, right? So for children, it's mostly like a headache. For adults, some people get a tick bite and get a rash. Some people never see a tick, never see a rash, and just feel like they have the flu. Some other people get swollen joints, right? Right there is listed, muscle aches, etc. This is when it goes undetected, and if it goes on for months and years, you can get nerve damage, you can get brain, definitely brain issues, brain fog. That's what I think I still have, meningitis type symptoms. So my son in high school a few years ago, he had viral meningitis, and they thought it was, they quarantined him. He was in the hospital, and they did a spinal tap. And I said, while you're there, please test for Lyme. And he had a new Lyme infection. That's what gave him the meningitis symptoms.
Wow.
So unbelievable. Rapid heartbeat. I had that. My son did. Chest pain, joint pain, and swelling. And with Lyme disease, the insidiousness is that for a few months you could have a headache, and then you feel okay, and then another few months you have achy joints. It migrates, it changes, and it's never the same in any one person. It makes it hard to diagnose, right?
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? But at least we know that a cold is a stuffy nose and a chest cold, and all those things. But can you imagine a disease where it lands in people so differently, and it changes often? So it's hard, hard to diagnose. The best thing would be swollen joints and a bullseye rash.
Right.
Yeah, right. That would be easy. So it's based on symptoms and physical findings. Sometimes the rash, right? So if you go to I think I put the lab, yes, on another slide, I put some labs for you. It's a very methodical process. I've gone through the process because I was undiagnosed, and I was so sick for years before I was diagnosed. So now it's like deep into my tissues, correct? It's in my brain, it's in my heart. It's not running around in my bloodstream. And people that know about Lyme know that if I was ever put on antibiotics or periodically, does anyone know what the Lyme spirochete does? Raise your hand if you know. I'd say I'd give you a prize, but go ahead, Brenda.
It drills itself down into your tissues.
It does. But when, let's say you've been sick with Lyme for a long time, so it's not in your blood anymore and it's in your tissues, and then someone gives you antibiotics, let's say, for it.
Oh, okay.
Does anyone know what happens to it then? And why people feel better right away? And they think they're all better after 2 weeks of doxycycline, when in fact something else happens. It goes into a cyst form, and it grows a biofilm over it and hides. And then the antibiotics leave your system, and then it comes out again. So that's why people feel fine for 6 months, 7 months, and then they feel sick again later.
So it's dormant. It goes dormant.
It goes dormant.
Wow.
When you have a chronic case of Lyme and you try to take oral antibiotics, it will go dormant. Yeah. So the average chronic, like I was, chronically sick person will see 15 different doctor appointments before someone figures out what's going on with them.
That's crazy.
I know. So babesia is what I also had. It is like a malaria-like illness. You get incredible sweats. I was also 40. How old was I? 43 when this was happening. So I'm like, am I in menopause? I didn't know what was going on, but I was sweating not just at night, but during the day. Very, very much feeling like malaria type symptoms. And the parasite invades your red blood cell. So fever, sweats, muscle pain. And they also call it air hunger, which is what I would definitely call it. You can't catch your breath. It's almost like you're out of air. You can't get a full, your lungs can't fill up. It's like horrible feeling. Anaplasmosis, this used to be called ehrlichiosis. So this bacteria invades and goes into your white blood cell. So these are also, it's like a rapid onset of fever. So I never had the fever. I had a very low fever. I didn't have shaking or chills. I had incredible pain in my muscles. I had really bad headaches and nausea, really bad nausea. But with the, I think it was either the Bartonella or this, it felt like someone was drilling. Like if you ever have pain, like someone's drilling a drill through your hands or your feet, very, very telling of Bartonella. That's the one that feels like that. So this is an intracellular parasite. It likes the red blood cells. I don't want to go into this too much, but again, swollen lymph nodes, fever, headache. So they're all kind of the same, right?
Yeah.
And so many things could be that, right? If we think about it, having, a headache, tired, and so many things this could be. So it doesn't always get noticed. And Babesia, there's 35 different kinds of Babesia out there, but there's only tests for 5 of them. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, So the vaccines, as I said before, they tried that. It didn't work. I know they're working on another one now. I wouldn't take it just because it doesn't make sense. The more you know about this, but I don't blame anyone for taking it if they want to. But right now, there are no vaccines that work. So I'm big on just let's prevent it. Yeah, this little ugly tick there. Yeah.
When you get one of those on you, I had one the other day that was trying to attach. It freaks me out. Freaks me out.
Yeah. So me too. So this is like a little measuring tape there. See how little they get here. So that's like the larva size here. The larvae do not transmit any kind of Lyme disease. This is the life cycle of, they start with the eggs and then the larva and then the nymph. And here's that nasty little white-footed mouse. So they transmit, how many white mice are out there, which they can also trace. Keep track of this. That will tell how bad the Lyme disease season is going to be.
I never knew that about the mice.
Yeah. And it's very weather related. They like warm. The more warm days there are, the more humidity, the more they like it. So they infect up to 95% of the ticks that feed on them. And then the ticks fall off the mice and attach to the deer.
It reminds me of the stories of the bubonic plague.
I know.
Yeah.
With the fleas on rats.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh
on rats. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's right. We were in Scotland recently and we were under like one of those Mary, the underneath, I forget what it's called. And they were talking about that, the plague and the rats and and everyone was, legs were black. So people don't think that ticks love like near the seashore, seagrass by the beach. They love and thrive in moist, shady areas. So this is the thing I always say to people. From the springtime to July, so April, May, June, I don't go in the woods. I love it. It's beautiful. I could go in the woods and wear the right protection, but I don't bring my dog for walks in the woods because no matter how much I spray her with stuff or whatever, I just don't want to deal with the thought of them getting on her. Then she gets in my car and then at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm feeling it crawl up my neck. Right? Everyone's had that. Has anyone like felt something and you freak out and you turn on the light and there's that, right? Especially if you've had Lyme disease. So if I were to go walking in the woods on a rainy day, never, or right after the rain, because on the rainy days, they're out on the ends of all the plants and all the things. On a really dry, hot day, best day to go. And I suggest using wood trails with wide paths where you're not brushing up against the overgrowth. And I'll tell you about the tricks that you can do. Because who doesn't love the woods, right? We all love the woods, but this is where they love. So stone walls where there's brush or, see how that place set is up against the woods there. It's a lovely little tick bite site. So this is what we do. You can buy these. You can buy them with little magnifying glass, attach them on Amazon. They're like perfect little tweezers and they have a little magnifying glass so you can see the tick as you're pulling it out of you. But you want to go right by the mouth, really close to the skin. You don't want to squeeze the belly of the tick because that will cause it to vomit whatever it is into you. Does that make sense? I don't want to get gross, but that's why. So you get as close to the mouth and you can look this up on YouTube, but you're going to pull straight back, nice and slow. I was going to be funny, like when you're pulling one of your whiskers out of here. How do you, nice and slow, close to your chin. I'm 60, so that does happen. You don't want to crush the tick's body. Then you want to wash it with some soap and water, maybe some rubbing alcohol. I take the tick and I put it in a little teeny Ziploc bag, and I put a date on it, and that's for later if I need to send it away. But you want to watch for symptoms. So you don't want to squeeze or rupture the tick. Some people say, oh, put Vaseline, right? And the tick will back itself out of you. Well, guess what? It also gets traumatized by that. And it could vomit into so you don't want to do that. You don't want the nail polish remover, anything that would traumatize the tick. So it does, the tick will back itself out of you when you put Vaseline, but we don't know what happens before he backs out. So if you have an engorged tick that has fed on you or your animal, you can send those away to almost anywhere, but also there are some, and I have it on the next slide, some places where you can send any tick and they will test it for you. As we said, about 50% of the ticks tested positive for Lyme, and many are co-infected. So it's sort of like flipping a coin. So the Bay Area will do it for free. And then I know the University of Massachusetts, and we can get this stuff to you if you want it later. Okay. And the Connecticut veterinary one. And I know there's another one, Stony Brook in New York will do it. And also I know Maine will do it, but only for Maine residents. Oh. But you can just Google in your state, right? It's so easy to Google, and because that might be something that someone needs to do if they've been bitten.
Annie,
So
is that a free service?
The Bay is free. I think the other two are free too. Yeah. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. So this is an acronym for the people that created this. It's nothing that's going to shock you. It's very easy. So B, blast, B. So whenever I've been out, even if you're out in your yard, right? I have chickens. They eat the deer ticks. It's why I have chickens. But if you didn't have chickens, just being out in your spring grass, just being outside in your yard, absolutely. We still can get ticks from our yard because our chickens can't cover 4.5 acres. But when we've been outside, and this is on a later slide, but we come inside. If I've been out in the woods or out working in the garden, I take all my clothes off. I put them in the dryer or the washer if they're dirty, and shut the door. I leave my shoes outside and I get in the shower right away. Just rinse myself off. I don't have to shampoo if I've already taken a shower that morning, but I just scrub my head a little bit with my hands and rinse, because if anything is on you, it has not attached yet, right? And it'll just rinse right off of you. So leave your shoes outside, put your clothes in the dryer or the washing machine, shut the door, and bathe. Right there is 90% of your prevention. So B is for bathe or shower. L is for look. I used to help run a girls' summer camp in New Hampshire, and we had tick checks every night because New Hampshire is really bad, right? And these little girls are out playing. So just look on your children. They like to be right behind the ears. They like to be in the armpits. They like to be in the groin. So just check those darker, hairier areas. Just do a tick check every night with your kids. And if you need your husband to look, but just check your scalp, just do during those really high tick months. It's just a great idea to get used to checking yourself. The A in blast is for applying repellents. So on the skin, and we'll go into the natural stuff, there's a lot of wonderful things you can use. There's one by Sawyer that contains picaridin, which you can put on your skin and on your pet. Cedar Side is a company that makes 100% organic, safe for you. You can spray it on your pets, on your clothes, on your skin. It's made from cedar. It can't hurt anybody. There's also some essential oils, which are on the next slide. And then Sawyer also makes a thing called paramethrin. This you do not want to put on your skin, but you can spray your tent, your shoes, your dog's harness, your dog's leash, your outerwear, your hat, your pant legs, any clothing. You can spray, let's say you wear the same jeans or your same pants, you can spray with permethrin, and you can wash them up to 4 or 5 times with soap, and that permethrin will stay in there. It's a natural repellent. Whenever we go, camping, spray it all around the tent and on the where your door is and all around the base of your tent. It's amazing stuff. LL Bean sells clothes, right, that have already been treated with permethrin, but you can buy it and you don't have to pay those crazy prices. Natural repellents, right? So I love rose geranium oil. That works for me. Some people, they did a whole study, and thyme with citronella was shown to be the most effective, more than rosemary, lemongrass, and peppermint. So mixing thyme and citronella together. And then for some people's chemistry, the rose geranium oil. Eating garlic is a great way. They hate it. So if you just had some garlic, that's another way you can do it. So the Acid Blast is for spraying the edges of your yard. So if you have kids and they're out there playing, or pets that are out there playing, we have mainly grass here, which is it's a safe tick prevention system. They use a whole spray that has garlic. I don't know what's in it, but it's all natural. And they use cedar. You can use cedar, but that can reduce just spraying the perimeter of your yard, clearing your yard from old log, piles, brush like that kind of thing. Can really help. But that's why I put mainly ticks. That's in our great neighborhood here. And then creating a tick safe zone. So I don't know if you can see this, but if I had kids, and here's the swing set. So not only can you clear and spray the yard, but then you can make this zone of cedar chips, because they hate cedar and they won't cross cedar. So see how this family puts cedar chips as their mulch all around their yard. And there's a barrier. So they said that should be 3 feet wide, that cedar area, and just sort of create this environment. So treat the grass naturally. You could do it with caustic stuff, but I would say it just backlashes us on the environment. It's not good. You don't want your kids or your pets out laying around in that nasty stuff.
Right.
So there's a lot of all natural things they can use. Mow the lawn frequently, rake the leaves. Keep the wood dry, stack it so it dries out, and keep it away from the kids. The deer resistant plants, another good thing. And then we're going to talk about mice tubes. Has anyone heard of mice tubes? Yes. Oh, I see Kristen shaking her head. So mice tubes are super fun. I made them myself. They're so easy. You can buy them, but they're expensive. You just save your toilet paper roll, cardboard rolls, right? And then you paint them black. Let them dry. I use acrylic paint, they're a little white. And then you get cotton balls, and then you douse them with that permethrin stuff, and you stuff them in the tubes. You put like 3 or 4 cotton balls inside a tube, and then you put these under your deck, under your front porch, by your wood pile. You put them all the places that those little white mice would go. And it doesn't kill the mice, it kills the larvae on them. So you're not going to get a bunch of dead mice rolling around in cardboard tubes. Don't worry. You're just going to kill the larvae that are on the mice, right? That fall off and would attach to a deer. So it reduces the amount of ticks in your yard quite drastically. The T in Blast is treat your pets. So like I said, the cedar side is wonderful. I use a lint roller. So if I go out walking with my dog in the woods, even if it's July now or August or October, not only do I put a white sheet over my car seat where she is. So, because if she's on white, if there's a tick, I'll see it quickly, versus if she's on my leather, I won't. I bring one of those sticky pet lint rollers. So now we get back in the car. We finish hiking. Before she gets in the car, I take the lint roller, I roll it over her coat, because they're on the top of her, because she has a very, dogs or cats have their thick fur. So I roll the lint roller all over her, try to brush them off without brushing them in. And then she jumps up in my car. I have caught, a tick or 2 that fall off on that sheet. And then when she comes home, I also really check her before she comes into my house, because that is how we get ticks on us in our house, is from our animals, not from us, because we're super vigilant. Well, actually, my husband can sit outside, mow the lawn and come in and find a tick. So I shouldn't say that. They can hop on us as well. So you can use things from your vet, absolutely. I don't. I just treat her coat with the cedar side and her vest with her harness with paramethicillin. That's what I choose to do. And then just don't let your pet sleep with you, especially during those months, because it's really not great. So I put this already, right? The dryer, wear light colored clothing. I know it's so nerdy looking, but tuck your pants into your socks, or just wear, let's say you have black leggings, right? Like those are black, but if you spray them with cedar side or the Picardian or something, and you tuck your socks over the thing so they can't get under, you'll be okay if you're well sprayed. I don't have white leggings, and even if I did, I don't think I would wear them because it wouldn't look so pretty. But I would protect myself, spray my clothes, tuck my socks in. Keep my dog. The whole fun about being in the woods for her is being off the leash. So I just don't go into the woods this time of year. But if you want to go for a walk, wide trails, keep your dog on a leash and stay out on rainy days, right? So here are the products that I like to use. This white one here is the Sawyer product that you can spray right on your skin. It's safe. This one by Sawyer is the one I talked to you about that has the paramethicillin in it. You can get both of these on Amazon, or you can get them at Cabela. You can get them at Dick's Sporting Goods often. This yellow one is the one you'd spray on your clothing and let it dry. You don't want to ever spray it on your clothing when your clothing's on you. You want your clothing outside, lay it on the grass or the porch, spray it, let it dry, and then you can wear it. This is the citronella and thyme oil picture. This is the Cedar Side company, 100% organic. This one, Cedar Side, you can attach your hose and spray it on your lawn, and it's all natural. This is the rose geranium oil right off Amazon, right here, the Green Health. And then here are the tick tubes that you can buy. Those are $49 for those.
Wow.
It must be the Scottish girl in me. I just would rather make them than pay $49 in there. So it's, if you find a tick, like it says, just remove it like we suggested, save it. If I have a tick attached to me and I know it's been more than 24 hours, I'm calling a doctor, and I'm getting some antibiotics. And Brenda will attest, us functional medicine people, we don't run to antibiotics very quickly.
No.
But for this, I will. And I can't take doxycycline. It makes me sick, which is very sad because it's the best thing you can take. So I would just say this to you from a person to a person, not from a functional person to a client. This is just you and me talking. I would demand 1 month's worth, not 14 days, not 1 day, not 3 days. I would demand 4 weeks or 1 month supply of doxycycline, because if you just had the tick get to you, like in the last 24 hours, two weeks worth will most likely be fine. Let's say that's okay. But let's say you're down the road and you start to see a rash and you don't know when you got bit. It could have been a week. It could have been 4 days. It could have been 2 weeks. That's when you really need to be on this demand for yourself, that, you just say you've done your research, you've read a lot of articles, and you would like to have 30 days worth. Because what happens is one of the biggest problems is people get undertreated. This is where they get undertreated. And there's such a beautiful little window and you just don't want to screw it up. So that's what I would say to you, friend to friend. Yeah, 21 pills, if not 30. Yeah. And then if you think you have some of these, if you ever feel, or anyone you know has these symptoms, but you haven't seen a deer tick, or you didn't know if you got bit, but you just don't feel well and nothing else is making sense and no one else is diagnosing you, and you suspect you might have Lyme or you want to rule it out, definitely find a LLMD and they will be able to tell you. So this is all the information here. This is where it was taken from. I do have a handout that I'd be happy to share with Brenda, and she can pass it along to anybody in
Oh,
your group
great.
that would like it. I'll
Thank
sort
you.
of go on there and tweak it and take off the main doctors that I suggest. And then I'll send it to her. Oh, there it is. The thank you. Woohoo. And just know that Lyme is just insidious, right? It's as known, as we were talking in the beginning, as the great imitator. And so, unfortunately, chronic Lyme, after it's settled into your body, can the autoimmune response can trigger something like, so it can trigger MS, it can trigger Parkinson's, it can trigger ALS. And in those cases where the base was Lyme disease to begin with that brought this on, those symptoms, those MS, Parkinson's, ALS, when the Lyme is treated completely, those situations go away. And so that's not so for all of those. So obviously, people get MS and Parkinson's without Lyme disease. But if someone were healthy and then all of a sudden they, 50 years old, boom, Parkinson's, I don't care how old, I would always get a really good, not just your doctor, a Lyme literate person to run those tests and make sure that Lyme wasn't the underlying cause of what's going on in their body. There was a guy with ALS bedridden and thought he was on his way to dying, and he's fine now. And it was Lyme. So, and that's not always the case, but boy, wouldn't you want to just check,
Mhm.
That's so thank you. That's sort of it without knowing. I just really don't want to say too much about treatment because it's so unique, but yeah.
Thank you so much, Annie. This was wonderful.
You're
Wonderful.
welcome.
When I was doing an externship in natural medicine out at when the Living Proof Institute had an office in Cincinnati, I trained with Dr. Sigler out there. And there was a client who came in with MS symptoms, and she was so sick with Lyme disease. She was so sick.
Yeah.
I had never seen anything like that at that point. So
It's actually quite amazing. There's one person who's tracking it, whoever will allow it. But when people with MS actually finally die and they do autopsies, there's someone that's trying to collect information. So far, every person that he's gotten the information from that had MS also did have some Lyme in them, when they did the autopsy. So
wow, that's
it's just interesting. And I just think, why not find out for sure? Because boy, if you could treat that Lyme and not die, right, of Parkinson's, or not live a life with Parkinson's. So, and it's not everybody, but there's a good percentage that is the case.
And just like you mentioned, there's so many people that don't even know they have it, and they're being treated for so many other things. And like Annie in the chat was saying, the first time her son presented with Bell's palsy.
Yes, huge, your whole face is hanging. That's so when you get Bell's palsy, that's the one time where they actually a lot of states will actually give you IV antibiotics. So an IV drip is the best, that's the best way to get it. Boy, I know Rhode Island, of all the states in the nation, Rhode Island is the best place to get Lyme disease, because as a state, you don't have to have Bell's palsy to get an IV antibiotic with them.
Oh.
And how weird to have a disease that is so highly controversial that every state has a different protocol and what's allowed by insurance. And doctors being losing their license because of the 30 days of doxy they prescribe, or I've gone to 2 different doctors if I've had to. I also have doctors that are friends. So I used to store doxycycline like it was sweet tarts in my cabinet over there when my 4 kids were little, because I was scared. Yeah. So I had doxy and I would just put it right over there in case. It doesn't last forever, but and that was fear-based, but have 16 of your years of your life affected by this disease, and you do tend to act from fear.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question about the Promethean or whatever it's called. Why can't you spray that? Why does it have to be sprayed on your clothes? And does that transfer to your skin if it is sprayed on your clothes?
So you spray it on your clothes and let it completely dry. and then it's safe. You spray it on the outside of your clothes. So you outside of your jeans. Let's say you wear a shirt and then you wear like a jean jacket or a denim shirt, whatever you wear on the outside. If you wear the same thing walking, your hiking boots, your socks. So you could pick 1 or 2 pairs of socks that you always will wear hiking and spray them with paramethicin on the outside, let it dry completely, and then you can wear them. When it's wet, it's just not good for you. But when they used to dip dogs in this, do you remember when you would get your dog dipped?
Yes.
If you're a 70s girl? Yeah.
Yep.
So they used to dip the dogs. So what they found, it goes right through the system, and goes out. It's not good for us, but as long as it's dry, it'll be okay. But then once it's dried on, like on your clothing, it'll go through 4 to 5 washing machine loads with soap and still be effective.
Okay.
So you can, and you can research it. I know Orvis and LL Bean sells clothing already treated with it, but it won't stain your clothing. I mean, I wouldn't put it on my cashmere sweater or anything.
Right.
I would, I have a flannel shirt in the fall that I would wear, or I have hiking boots. I always spray my hiking socks, my hiking boots. And let's say I have leggings on, or I put corduroys on. If I know I'm going to have those, I'll spray the outside of those with it. As long as it doesn't penetrate the material and get to your skin, you're fine.
Yeah, that's
not
good
like
to
you're
know
gonna-
because we're
Yeah.
getting ready to go camping soon. We have like
Yeah,
a
get
in the
that
works,
big
so-
one and put it around your tent.
Okay.
Spray your tent with it. Once it's set up, you can just spray the ground all around. Yeah, but the cedar side can go on your pet, on your skin, on you, on your clothes.
Yeah, I think it'll be beneficial to get both, really.
Yeah, and some people find that rose, like my niece, she takes the rose geranium oil and you put it like where you put perfume, right? Because you want it to go bloodstream. That works like a miracle for her. But with some people's chemistry, it's not as great. So they prefer the citronella and the thyme oil. So you've got to play around with it a little bit. But that picardin from Sawyer is safe. So I have I was just realizing how low mine is. So
Oh, okay. Yep.
so here it is, and you can spray it right on you. It has, can't even pronounce picardin. Yeah, but it's not dangerous to you. It's not like a DEET. So
Okay,
I don't know
good,
about you.
Good.
Nothing's going to make me spray DEET on my body.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll spray DEET on my clothes. I'll take a hat and spray DEET on it and put the hat on, but I'm not going to put DEET on my body.
No.
I already the 70s putting 612 all over my body. It's amazing that I'm still here. I probably glow.
So I have another question. So that window from the time you notice the tick till the time you get what is that window? I used to hear it was 2 weeks. Is that still true?
It's a 2-week window.
Okay.
It's a 2-week window where that Lyme, that infection is in your blood.
Okay.
And they say it takes 24 hours for the Lyme bacteria to go from the tick to your body, into your body. They think with some of those co-infections, it's a matter of hours.
Okay.
So if you also, make sure if the first thing you do is have your normal doctor, right, your pediatrician or your internist run a tick panel, not just the Western blot and the Alyssa.
Right.
Have them do the whole panel because they have that. If that comes back negative, it doesn't mean you don't have it. So what I would say is, just as I'm sure Brenda teaches you, listen to your body, listen to your gut, and be your own best advocate. And there is always someone in every state out there that will help you. Go to a Lyme literate person, but just don't, if you really, I'd be relentless. Like, I don't just say, okay, I'll do a week worth. Or sometimes they give you three doxycycline and that's it. I mean, you can do what you want.
Three pill.
So
Oh,
if you
wow.
find a tick on you and you think it was just on for a day, they'll give you 3.
Do you read what Victoria just wrote
I
in the
haven't been
chat?
reading any. No. I mean,
That's right. Oh my.
Victoria, yes, I did not read. Oh, that
Well,
is
wait a minute. Wait, maybe she sent it just to me. She said Shelby and I, they're sisters, are at a softball game, and we looked over and saw some kids playing in some tall grass up the hill and looked at each other like, be careful, there could be ticks. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I used to think when I was in Connecticut, before I knew I was sick, this lady that lived down the street from me, she would not let her kids go near the woods. She was like, they can't play in the woods. I won't live in the woods. And my kids are in the woods hanging from the trees. I'm like, oh my gosh, get over it. Well, there,
Yeah.
but for the grace of God went I, right? Because you
Right.
don't know what you don't know. I have a very healthy fear I love the woods.
Me
I
too.
can go in because I will armor up. I'll put everything on the outside of me. I'll come home, I'll strip, I'll shower, and I won't get it. If you do what I said about that clothing and the
Right.
dryer and the shower, you're gonna get it. It's when you don't, like sometimes we'll be out there and we'll work, and all of a sudden 2 hours later, we'll find a tick and we're like, oh my God, we forgot to strip and get the shower. Sometimes you just forget. But if you can really remember that, especially with your kiddos, if you have little kids, mine are 30 and, old, but throw them in the bath, you jump in that shower quickly, and they just can't attach.
I like the tips you gave about, we take our dog for a walk every single day, Mark or I, and
Yeah.
he loves to run, loves it. And we like to be out in the woods.
Yeah.
But I like the tip about the white sheet in the vehicle and the sticky roller. So I'm gonna have
It's
to
so
remember
great.
those because
So remember, if you brush the dog, it's going to make those little ticks are so teeny, it'll make the tick go into the fur. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if you roll the dog everywhere first and then just sort of brush the dog off a little and then have that white sheet, you'll catch a lot of them.
Okay. That's good information.
Yeah, but it is the animals. And I know it's hard, but like I say, don't let your animals sleep with you.
That's so hard.
And this is someone who had 16 years of suffering, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
that's a tough one. I totally agree.
It's a tough one. Do you wash your sheets in paramethien? Maybe.
Oh,
I mean, you can put paramethien. That's the other thing. You can buy it. You'd have to Google how to do this, but you can buy some and you add it to your wash. So let's say you took your sheets and your bedding, throw it in the washer with some paramethien, wash it, dry it. Put it back on.
But what if you
Maybe.
sweat during the night? Does that affect
No,
that?
no.
No. Okay.
Or what if you sprayed your dust ruffle with I'm just being serious here for us people who are softies.
Dog cuddlers.
Right. Like maybe I spray it on the rug she lays on, or
Right.
or who knows. But there's probably
the way that I found the tick last week, we had been out and we came in, went to bed that night, and the next morning, Bo jumped up on the bed next to me, and I don't know why, but just like that, a little tiny thought went, "What? I wonder if he has a tick." And I disregarded it because there was no reason for me to think that. I
right.
got up, I'm doing my devotional time in the morning, and I just went like this, and there was a lump on my forehead. I'm like, Mark, what is this? And sure enough, it was a tick.
You knew. See, I think sometimes we get these little
Nudges or something.
nudges from the universe for sure. And
Yep.
follow them, because there's nothing creepier than that feeling.
Yes.
Only because we don't want anyone to get sick, and it's just and then they're really learning that it shows up. There's farmers that are out in the fields and they just don't get sick. There's other people that get super sick.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have it for a long, long time, it also is something about your immune system. So people who have chronic Lyme, who can't, that's called chronic Lyme, that's a debate in itself too. But basically your body can't deal with it, and it can't clear it. So that's what happened with me. And they say it never, like every virus, right? It never leaves your body. Well,
Right.
who knows? So you just need to stay healthy. And I finally was fine for 3 years. Then I got the Pfizer vaccine for reasons that whatever, and it triggered it again, and I was sick for 6 months.
Oh,
Needless to say, I did not get boosted, but I have had
Right.
COVID. I was fine, and I will not be boosted just because I will not be sick like that again. So I would rather just prevent, stay healthy, support your immune system, and do all those great little tips. And if you want the handout, just let Brenda know.
Yes.
Put it,
One other question.
yeah.
What about the debate that you can get Lyme from more than just ticks?
Oh, well, vector-borne, yeah,
Like
vector-borne.
mosquitoes.
Yeah, you
is a big
can.
one?
Well, I don't know if
Okay.
you can get, I think you can get it from mosquitoes now. I can't speak
Fleas, right?
professionally because I'm
Right.
not up on the latest knowledge, but I have heard that. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I
Anybody
had a
have-
doctor that told me that Oliver couldn't have had Bartonella because it's cat scratch fever and we didn't have a cat. He had it. He tested positive for it when we got a doctor to test him. But yeah, it's just that the information is murky, and there's on my handout is the organization. There's 2 different Lyme organizations, and the one that's really reputable that I feel like you can trust is on that handout.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thank you so much. Anybody have any questions for Annie? I think I took up most of the question time.
I know I talked a lot, but I had to get through my little
this
thing.
was very, very informative and very needed because I think the majority of us live in Lyme areas. So I think
Yeah.
Kristen, you're the only one in Virginia. I don't know what Virginia is like, but I'm sure, if they're everywhere.
This is my backyard.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
And we have lots of ticks. So yeah,
There you
that's
go.
where we mow the grass, we go for a walk, and then this is what we were told to pick up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
They're called a tick twister,
Yeah. Yep.
and it's like a little crowbar that gets them out.
That's
And you take it and you spin it, and it spins them out.
Yeah.
And I have a spoon. Looks like a little spoon.
Yeah, it's a little scooper. There's
Yeah.
a few different items. Just anything that you get, just making sure that it's at that mouth to the skin point
Right.
and
Yeah.
not in the belly part. And definitely don't do the whole nail polish Vaseline thing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No. We don't.
No,
want-
thank you very much. No,
Yes.
Virginia has a lot because of how warm and muggy it is down here.
Yeah.
So yeah, when we were talking about coming across, when we first moved here, my youngest got a tick on her.
Mhm.
And that was the first time we've actually encountered, well, no, that was the second, but it was the first time we've, as an adult child, she had a tick.
Mhm.
And she got so sick. And when we took her to the ER, the lady came in and says, well, we think that, because she got bit by, or she had the tick, that it might be, whatever it is. She goes, do you want her to be treated? I'm like, yes, I want her to be treated. I mean, it's not an option. I brought her in here because she feels like crap. And, she couldn't wake up. The Benadryl, she itched so bad, and it was horrible. So they
Yeah.
gave her the 2 weeks worth of Doxy. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they gave her a shot right then and there, and then they gave her the Doxy.
Yeah, and you know what, Kristen, just keep an eye on her. I don't know how long that was, but it can be years later that issues arise. And if they do, just keep that in the back of your head.
Yeah, now it makes me I will do that. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I don't mean to sound like, but that's sort of how it.
No,
how-
that's a good thing
Right.
to have, because that would be, reoccurrences, especially like you said, after you get environmental things and pharmaceutical things that can trigger it. So
Yeah, yeah. It's just a good thing to keep in the back of your mind once you've had it, just to look out for that later.
yeah, well, thank you so very much.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you, Annie. And for my
Pleasure.
group, your next module releases in 3 minutes. And this is just the last one. It's wearable technology and all the markers for that. So, yep, the Aura ring right there. Annie, thank you. Thank you. Thank
You're
you. This
welcome. And you guys are in
so
great
much
hands
needed.
with Brenda. You should feel lucky to have her.
We
We
are
enjoy-
very
Thank
lucky.
you.
We're lucky to have her as a colleague, and I hope you all have a beautiful day. And Brenda,
Yes.
would you send me it if you recorded it? Can I have a copy of the recording?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
right.
Yep.
Great.
All right, ladies. Thank you. Have a great
Bye.
evening. Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye.
Bye.